Hey, so hello everybody. My name is Genesis Mathis. I am a senior at Georgia State University, and this is the 2024 College Panel for Things I Wish I Knew Part 2. I have two, four, six guests that are on the panel. I'm going to let them introduce themselves with their name, what school they go to, and what is their year they're in. So we can start with Devin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devin Watkins. I'm from Athens, Georgia. I attended the University of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, the number one public HBCU in the country. And I'm entering into my senior year.
Thank you. Hey, Zollie.
Hey, my name is Zollie Mattox. I'm from Athens, Georgia, and I just graduated from Clarke Atlanta University.
Hey everybody, my name is Genesis Brown. I'm from Athens, Georgia, and I attend Norfolk State University. Oh, and I'm a sophomore.
Alexis.
Hey everyone, I'm Alexis Rawls. I'm a graduate of Kennesaw State University, and I currently am a graduate student at Georgia Southern University, and I'm also from Athens.
Camille.
Hi everyone, I'm Camille Thomas. I'm from Athens, Georgia. I'm a senior at Spelman College, the number one HBCU. Hey y'all.
All right, Jason.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Jason Robinson. I am a senior lecturer at the University of North Georgia, and I graduated from the number one HBCU, Xavier University of Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay, and we have one more person on the panel, Aaliyah. She just joined, so I don't know if you are situated yet, but we have Aaliyah from Clarke Atlanta as well, and she is a senior. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. We have a few topics that we're gonna go over. I've asked the people on the panel to feel free to elaborate, just so we can give you guys a good idea of what to expect, experience, what you're gonna have to go through, and all of that. So the first topic is the application process. So when we were applying for college, I know that they waived the standardized test, so we really didn't have to stress about like submitting it and them actually acknowledging it. But I know they're trying to maybe like, are they still doing it now? Like, is it required now?
I had to do it. So what I did was I took both, and whatever I had the higher score of, that's the one that I did, or like I redid it again to get an even higher score on it. But some colleges, they'll use it and some don't. Like it just depends on what university you're going to. But I think now they're starting to use that as if you get accepted to that university.
Okay, and then can you talk about, like, since you did both of them, the benefits of scoring good on them? Like, does that help you in any kind of way with your admission process?
The higher you score, I would say the higher you are up on like the admission list and the more money that you will receive. That's what happened with me at Norfolk State. The higher I scored, the more money I got for my funding going into my first year.
Okay, so that is a big note. So if you're looking at that, make sure you are, and you also have resources. I know when I was in high school, Julius himself, I used to go to tutoring with him, and he would tutor me and with other students for the test to prepare yourself for it. So it's not just something that you're on your own with and you just have to hope for the best. You can, tutor and get help so you can score great on it, and it can help you with scholarship opportunities because we all need extra money for school.
Genesis,
so
I did want to kind of jump in on that since I do, I work with admissions a lot. Something I want people to understand about the standardized test, there's a lot going on in higher education, especially with the recent Supreme Court affirmative action ruling. So you're going to see a re-emphasis on standardized tests, or let me say, don't be surprised if you see a re-emphasis on standardized testing with the SAT and ACT. There are changes coming. There's always changes, but there are changes coming. So if you really are looking at schools, you need to look at which tests they accept. You need to be looking at cutoff scores. There's a lot that goes into the application process, and standardized testing is just one part of it. Some schools just, some schools just care if you have a score. Other schools, to be competitive, you need to be within a certain range. So from my side of the house, being a member of the faculty, you need to make sure that you understand which schools you're applying to, and you need to tailor your plans. And also you need to understand that you just can't show up to take these tests. You need to make sure that you have a schedule, so months in advance of your date, and that you are preparing for these exams, because they are not cheap. And also, you need to be ready for these exams. The SAT and ACT, the formats are very different. So you need to be ready for those exams and understand what you're getting yourself into.
Yes, and the ACT is what, English, reading, math, and science, right? I think so.
Yeah, I can double check. And again, these things change. The SAT has changed dramatically. The scoring system has changed dramatically. So it's something that you need to understand, especially if you're a sophomore, junior, or even a freshman in high school. You need to understand what they're going to make the announcements of what's going to change far in advance. So you really need to understand which schools you want to apply to, and which schools some schools are SAT heavy, some schools are ACT heavy, some schools don't care. So you need to have an idea of what's what during your application process.
Devin, you had something to say?
I was just going to add, pretty much, going back into the ACT and SAT, even though I did not take it, if you do need testing accommodations, do not hesitate to reach out to your school, whatever school you go to. They will accommodate you, whether it's like taking the test, like, part 1 this day, part 2 this day. They have to accommodate you. So don't feel nervous, whatever, to hesitate and reach out to your professors and school advisors and stuff like that, because they will help you.
Yes, it was all great information. So the next one was just talking about more so like application forms, and like having to put information. Like, I know they ask sometimes about like extracurricular activities, work experience, acts of service. When it comes to that, don't hold back on the things that you have accomplished in high school, or you work in things that you have done. Make sure you put all of that on your application, because all of that does matter. And I think also discuss about like a waiver fee, because you do have to pay, sometimes to do applications, but they will waive that for you. Camille, you had something to say about this?
Yes, I was going to say just to focus on or put extra work into your essay, because when they're looking at applications, if everybody has, say, a 3A and they have to narrow it down for which applicant they're going to choose, it has to be something about you that sets you apart from everybody else. So an essay is a good chance for you to set yourself apart, including something that they need to know. And just really work on community service and extracurricular activities as well for your application.
Yes, all of those things. And then following that with the letters of recommendation, this one, Zollie, you had something to say? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. I was just going to say that I remember in high school, we had used Georgia Features. So Georgia Features is definitely going to be your best friend, because all your applications and everything that you do, your letter of recommendations, your just everything is going to be on that website, so you don't have to keep redoing the essay. And also, when it comes to the essay, I say if you do multiple college applications and they're saying like write the same thing pretty much, just keep on using that same essay and revise and edit it, because you will stress out trying to type multiple essays all the time.
It's true. Jason?
So one thing on the Georgia Futures thing I wanted to touch on, from what I'm being told, the USG is really trying to simplify the process. And ultimately, I believe their vision is going to be something along the fact of, once you get your scores put in, they're going to basically automatically, I think they want to automatically get you applied to as many different USG schools as possible, because the application process can be long, it can be tedious. Again, with those essays, the essays are important, but you really need to be able to differentiate yourself from everybody else. But also, I would warn people against trying to spend so much time really trying to make themselves seem bigger than they are, because we're wise to that. We can sit and do the math, and there are students now that are submitting essays talking about they started an app, they have a 501c3, they're a varsity football captain, they're all these things, and we just know you can't do all of that, and you can't do all of that well. So when it comes to putting that application together, you need to be realistic, because if it comes down to it and we fact check you and we find out that you're not really who you say you are, that's going to be the difference between you and somebody else. So when it comes to those applications and those essays, be genuine and be who you are, because you can ruin your reputation if it comes down to you and this last person. And I spend 5 seconds on Google trying to figure out, oh, you've got this nonprofit, and I don't know anything about it, or I can't find anything about it. That's going to be a no for me.
And sometimes, it's not always about what you've accomplished, what you have done, the services. Like I've keep emphasizing about this panel, it's about being real. You get noticed for being yourself. If you're struggling and college can potentially help you get to where you're trying to go, but you need help getting there, put that in your essay. And when you need help, let people know that you need help. They will acknowledge that and they will help you in that process. That's what you have to be honest, and don't be ashamed or embarrassed about struggling or anything. Just put it in there. They'll acknowledge it. With the letters of recommendation, we were talking about how you can get that from your counselors, your advisors, mentors that you had, even like previous teachers. That's why it's very important to create those relationships with your advisors from high school up until college, because those really matter when it comes to them recommending you, not just for the application to get into college, for jobs in the future. It's always good to form relationships, bonds with people. Zollie?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on when you said don't be scared to reach out to people. Don't be scared to stay on top of your counselors or anybody that said, oh, I'm going to write you a letter of recommendation, or, oh, I'm going to do this for you, because a lot of times they're doing that for 30 other more kids, and you might fall to the bottom of their list. So it's very important that you stay on top of them as well, because you need those letter of recommendations and you need your counselor to do a lot of stuff for you.
Exactly. That is so true. And that's one thing I have in bold, like on all caps on my list, is to follow up on anything you apply for. And that is just for life. You can never just apply for something and be like, oh, they'll get back to me. Like Zollie said, there are so many people trying to get in the same position you're trying to get in. So if you keep blowing their phone up, emailing them, they're going to be like, oh yeah, they really trying to, keep me on my toes. Sometimes you have to force people to do their jobs, and that's the unfortunate side of it, but you have to stay on top of whatever you apply for or put in for. Alexis?
I just kind of wanted to add on what Zollie said about being on top of people when you ask them for, assistance in regards to your application or a recommendation letter. Make sure you're aware of your deadlines as well, because you want to make sure that you're asking these people for recommendation letters in a decent amount of time for them to be able to help you and get you that recommendation letter by the date that you need it. So if you already have your mindset on a school or two, and you already looked up your deadlines, you already know when your application needs to be submitted, don't wait till the last minute to ask people, okay, I need you to write me a recommendation letter, or can you help me with this submission? You want to go ahead and do that ahead of time, so that way you're active and you already know what you need to do, and you're not waiting to the last minute and then you're pressed for time, because that's just going to create more stress on you, as if we already don't have enough stress as it is.
The last topic following this application process is your transcripts and your college credits. This is very important, because going into orientation, this is where you're typically going to choose your classes to take when you're entering college for your freshman year. And if you don't know the classes that you have previously taken or the credits that you have already received, they are going to throw you in a class that you have already took. And if you don't speak up for yourself, you're just going to be retaking the class, wasting money and time. So make sure you have that transcript, not just for your school, but make sure you have it for yourself and you know how to read it. And even if you have to go over it with your advisor or somebody to just know the classes and what you need to take, have a plan before you go through that orientation process, make sure you do that, because they will try to put you in those same classes. Genesis?
Yeah, that is so important. It happened to me going into my freshman year. For some reason, my Athens Tech classes wasn't transferring over. So luckily, I don't know if y'all know Miss Hire, but I emailed her and she contacted me directly to the person who handles the transcripts and got that fixed because I was going to be back in classes that I had already took and I wasn't going to get those credits that I had already did when I was in Athens Tech. So make sure you read that all the way through. Make sure you're talking to your advisors, your counselors, and just being on them about making sure that those credits get transferred over.
Jason?
I think it's important also, if you have any previous college credits, if you did dual enrollment, or if you did AP classes, any of those three, you need to make sure that you know how to calculate your own GPA, and you need to make sure that you press these people and you get everything. You have to get everything in writing if you have any college credits that you're coming into, because I don't know how many times I've had students that said, oh, I took this class already. I took it in high school. I took it for AP dual enrollment, both of those things together. If your GPA is not calculated correctly, with those credits, it can wreck your GPA because it can look like you don't have a class, but you have college credit. That's basically an F. It can wreck your GPA if you don't do it correctly. Also, when it comes to these things, you need to also understand that the way, at least I can speak for the USG, the way the degree programs are set up now, there is so little wiggle room that if you mess up that first semester, it can put you back almost a year. But you need to make sure that you get everything in writing with your counselors, with your admissions people, to make sure any credits you have, you're not duplicating courses, and that you are enrolled in the correct course for your major. I teach chemistry for non-majors. If you want to be an engineer and you end up in my class, you're in the wrong class. It will not count. So one of the biggest things to do is you need to make sure that you get every single thing when it comes to your schedule, your initial schedule. You need to make sure you get everything in writing and you keep that, because that's going to be the only leverage that you have if somebody makes a mistake. Because if it's just said, oh, somebody said this or somebody said that, that doesn't work. You need to make sure that you have everything in writing, that this schedule is correct. You've reviewed my transcripts. You reviewed any previous classes that you've taken. There's these things called articulation agreements. Just because you took a class does not necessarily mean it will count for such and such major at such and such school. So there's a million things going on, but that's why you need to make sure that you are your own best advocate and that you get every single thing in writing, so that if something does go wrong, the appropriate people can be held accountable or the appropriate remedy can be taken.
Zollie?
I just wanted to say, depending on what college you go to, if you do dual enrollment in high school, you need to make sure that that college will accept that dual enrollment credit, because all colleges don't accept your dual enrollment classes that you took at Athens Tech or wherever you're doing dual enrollment at. So it's important that you, when you go through the application process, go on the website and make sure that your dual enrollment credits will be transferred, because when you get there, you'll be like, oh, I thought I was supposed to already have this amount of credits, and then you didn't check to see if they even accept that credit or not. Also, as someone that did dual enrollment, I was able to go into college as a sophomore. So I just want to say, if you're doing dual enrollment in high school, take it serious. Even though you're in high school, you still have to take these classes serious, because these classes will be rolled over to your college transcript. And if you're going into your freshman year with a low GPA, it's very hard to pull those GPAs up. So just stay focused when you're doing the dual enrollment classes.
Yes. Camille?
Yes, so I don't know if this is the best section to talk about this in, but I looked through them and I feel like it fits best here. So this is something I wish somebody told me. So in Athens, at least, we do a lot of things with Google. We use like Google Classroom, Google Email, Google Chrome, everything like that. And then when we go to college, we transfer everything to Microsoft. So we had to take, well, my freshman year, I had to take a whole class on how to use Microsoft. So I feel like if you learn some of those skills while you're still in high school, that's a class you can completely avoid. You can take a test in like the summertime, or at least right when you get to college, and you can completely skip that class because it was really unnecessary, and it just teaches you how to use Microsoft. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in.
Yes, that is true. So yeah, just taking from that, just make sure that you know what you have going on before you just go, because at the end of the day, you got to think about it. You're going from high school where, you know, they're already trying to get you to be independent, but you still have people reminding you of things, to college where it's like, it's up to you. You have to be responsible for you. Like, even if you call the advisors or the financial aid, you can have your mama call and they're going to be like, I'm sorry, did Genesis give you permission to speak to me? Like, you know, you have to talk to them yourself. So you have to know what you have going on, because your parents aren't going to be able to vouch for you. Your advisors can only do so much. You have to be responsible for your own stuff. Jason, yeah.
So with regard to that, what Genesis just mentioned, there is a law called FERPA. It is the Federal Education Rights Privacy Act. What it says, unless you have a FERPA waiver, me as an instructor, let's say I had a student who was in a car accident, broke their leg. Their mom called the school or emailed me, called me and said, hey, my son's been in a car accident and I need to know what he's doing in class. Legally, I cannot even acknowledge that that student is a student at the university. So that is one thing. If you are headed off to school, you need to make sure that you have appropriate FERPA waivers for anyone that needs to talk on your behalf, because a university, that is like a HIPAA waiver for like medical. They're essentially the same thing. University is not going to violate your rights. So you need to make sure that when that happens, when you set everything up with financial aid, with all of those things, we are going to check and make sure those FERPA waivers are on file before we even talk to you. So that's something, when you roll in and you're doing all of your freshman orientation and stuff, you need to make sure those FERPA waivers are in, because I don't know how many times where students' parents have emailed me and we have a canned statement that's like, I can't even acknowledge whether this person's a student, and you need to contact the dean of students. So that's something a lot of people don't think about. But if you have questions or if your parents call, you must have that FERPA waiver on file. And if your parents can say, hey, this is my student, we already have a FERPA waiver on file, that makes things a lot easier.
Devin?
It was just pretty much going back into the of advocating for yourself,
You have your name,
as well as
and you know.
Yeah, as well as advocating for yourself, and as well as pretty much knowing your information. I don't know if this could happen when I just got to college or what. But I consider myself to be somewhat of a direct person. Because with this past summer, rather, I was working new student orientation, and with new student orientation, you have different incoming freshmen come up, and they're trying to like log in their information and stuff to make sure you have them on to their classes and everything. And every time I had a parent that comes up, and I asked the student what's their banner ID. The banner ID is like your login or whatever for the university. A parent would tell me. So I was the type of person. I was like, "Well, mom, thank you for telling me, but you're not going here. With all due respect, you're not going here. I need your son to know it, your daughter to know it." It's like, well, they don't know it. I mean, they need to learn it fast, immediately. So you need to know your information. That's with anything. If you're able to learn the TikTok dance for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, you can learn your banner ID or any of your login stuff like that as well. Also, as far as financial aid wise, advocating for yourself. Again, with all due respect, no one cares about your parents. Your parents are going to the university. You do. So therefore, you need to be able to advocate for yourself. If you're able to get on IG and argue all the time, text back real fast, have Twitter fingers, you should be able to write an email, professional email rather, and you should also be able to advocate for yourself and pray for it.
That is very true. Yeah. He just wrapped that up for me, so I don't need to say anything. Okay, so next topic, we're going to talk about academic life. So there, obviously, you may know, well, you do know there's a lot of different majors and different programs when you're entering college. You can do 2-year, 4-year, whatever you want to do. So with this case, we're not going to go over every single major because we would be here forever. So what we're going to do is I'm going to allow my people on the panel to tell you what their major is. That way you can have an idea of what's to offer from their school and what they're in. So you'll just get a kind of idea. So I'll start with myself. I'm a business management major with a concentration in human resources. Devin, you want to go ahead?
I'm also a business management student with a minor in entrepreneurship and innovation.
Zollie.
I was a criminal justice major with a minor in sociology.
Genesis?
I'm a sociology minor and criminal justice major.
Alexis?
Sorry. Early childhood education with a minor in Spanish.
Camille?
I'm a psychology major with a minor in education studies.
Aaliyah?
I'm a biology major.
So there's a gist of a few majors if you're interested in any. Because we're not gonna go over all of that. So the next one was about the lecture and seminar formats. I was gonna let Jason lead this one since he is the professor and he would kind of explain the different options. So I'm gonna take this one, Jason.
Okay. So hold on, I just want to make sure. Lecture and seminar formats. All right. So I think one of the biggest challenges that many students face when they transition from high school to college is understanding that high school is an all-day affair. College is not. So the magic number that you look at when it comes to classes is your credit hours. Your credit hours, if you according to the federal law or according to federal financial aid law, 12 hours is what we consider full-time. The university system of Georgia wants you to take 15. It's called 15 to finish. What that means is, on average, or basically, you will be in class for 15 hours per week. Now, if you do the math on high school, you're in class for something like 30 to 40 something hours a week. So it's a little bit different. Your lecture format is generally for gen ed classes for undergraduates, you're going to have class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday and Thursday. The vast majority of times, unless it's a math classes generally meet 4 times a week. Your lecture section is going to be if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's going to be 50 minutes long, and Tuesday, Thursday is an hour and 15 minutes. So there may be an instance where you have 3 classes on Monday and 2 classes on Tuesday, and that's it. And that is full time. So that's generally how lecture and seminar work out. You're going to have what we call non-credit classes, like the young lady mentioned about like a Microsoft class. That's generally going to be a non-credit class. You might get 1 credit for your freshman orientation. But when you have that lecture, that's when I come in and we're gonna have classroom exercises. Some is just straight lecture where I'm just talking to you and boring you to death. And then also you're gonna have your labs, which are you're going to be doing, I know there's a young lady that's a biology major. I was a chemistry major, so you're going to have your lab like once a week for maybe 2 hours. So that's really how the lecture thing works out. But the big thing that I want people to understand is that when you transition from high school to college, you're not in school all day. And one of the biggest challenges that students have is, what do I do with my time? It's the what do I do with my hands thing. Of you may have a schedule where you're Monday, Wednesday, Friday heavy, and you don't have class Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you now have to figure out what you're going to do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so understanding what to do with that vacuum of time is going to be the biggest key to success your freshman year, because generally when you're a freshman, they try to spread you out just to avoid that. But depending on your major, depending on where you are, you may end up where you don't have class on Thursday or something like that. And you need to be ready to figure out what you're going to do with yourself to make sure that you're keeping up with your studies.
Yes. Mel?
Yes, I was just going to touch on and say, like, to know yourself. They told me when you go to college that don't take an 8 a.m. And while I agree with that, I feel like you can probably, or I could do a 9:25 class. Ours starts at 9:25. I can do a 9:25 class, and some people prefer 6 p.m. classes. I don't like those. I don't want to be in class at nighttime. So I just feel like you have to know yourself and don't listen to some of your peers that might say, oh yeah, I'm not getting up at 8 a.m. I would rather go to an 8 a.m. class than a 6 o'clock class. So for example, next semester I have a class from 6 to 8:30, and I would much rather it be from like 8 a.m. to 10:30 or something like that. So I just say know yourself with that. And I forgot what else I was going to say, so I'll raise my hand if I remember.
Okay. Genesis?
Yeah, that's most definitely important because I was one of those people that was like, yeah, I'm not getting up at 8 o'clock. And I was stuck with the later classes and I was like, dang, I'm kind of like messing up my day. So like I transferred to like morning classes and I'm like, okay, well, I'm done with my day. I can stay, I can do what I have to do instead of like walking out of class late at night, it's pitch black dark, going back to your room. So I will say like do what you think is going to be best for you. And then you can always switch it next semester to, what you feel like, okay, I can actually go earlier or a little bit later.
Yes, and I feel like being an incoming freshman is going to be trial and error anyway. So that's kind of, especially that fall semester, you're going to have that time to see what works and what does not work, how things happen like, oh, well, I know I like to eat around this time, or I like to have this time to do this. I'm supposed to go here. So that's going to be your trial and error to see what fits for you and what does not. So like Camille was saying, how she prefers to have morning classes. I'm kind of the same way, but mine is 9:30. The 8 a.m. is too much, but the 9:30, that's the earliest that I could go. And I feel like I'm okay, and I'll be done with classes by no later than like 2 o'clock. Unfortunately, this fall semester, I do have a late class that ends at 7, and like Camille, I am crying every time I think about it. But that was the only thing that was like open, so you're going to experience that too. The higher you get in your college, life, whatever the word I'm not thinking of right now, however far you get, you're going to realize that the classes get limited, the times get limited, they get longer. So you kind of just have to go with the flow. But as an incoming freshman, it's going to be trial and error. So you're going to see what fits, what doesn't, and then you can just go from there. Jason?
One thing I did want to touch on with the scheduling, actually two things. When we make schedules, we generally put our 1,000 and 2,000 level classes kind of in the middle of the day. And as you go into the 3,000, 4,000, which are going to be your junior and senior level classes, that's when you run into those 6 p.m. classes. That's when you run into those 7:50 a.m. labs. So you just need to do that. Now here's a tip that a lot of people do not know, and I want you all, especially if you're already a freshman, it won't apply to incoming freshmen, but it's something you can think about your fall freshman year. When someone had touched on getting accommodations, I know at the University of North Georgia, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be USG, that's going to be at pretty much any school. If there is an individual who needs like a note taker, the note taking accommodation, or other accommodations where you're helping another student, if you do that and successfully complete that, not only do you get paid, but you also get priority registration. So priority registration, what that allows you to do is that allows you to get into those classes earlier than your peers would. So generally we let seniors register first, then juniors, freshmen, and then, or juniors, sophomores, and then freshmen. But if you have priority registration, that may let you bump up one classification, and that will help you set your schedule to where you want it because there's still space available. So that's a little something that not a lot of people know about. So if you're a good note taker, and at the beginning of class, if I have a student that has an accommodation, again, I have a script that I have to read. And if you sign up and do that, you can get priority registration, and that can help you punch your ticket to having, Fridays off if you can swing that.
Zollie?
I just wanted to say, if you know you're not gonna want to get up for an 8 a.m. class, or if you know you don't want to have a class late in the day, make sure that you register for your classes on time, because if you don't, those are gonna be the only options left, the options that people generally don't want.
That is true. And as a freshman, I know they try to, at least if they don't register, like have you with them as you're registering, make sure you're paying attention like where they're going, how they got there, how to acknowledge, because I know they get at Georgia State, like we have a time and a date for you specifically when you can like register. So make sure you know how to get to that page, so where it tells you that. Make sure you know how to see if you have any holes on your account before you can apply for your classes and stuff like that. That's why I'm saying, like, you have to know how to be responsible, because after that freshman year, really, you should know how to do all of these things yourself, because there's going to be so many people that don't, and you're going to be like, oh, I can just go talk to the advisors when I get out of class. You're going to go up there and it's going to be 500 students all trying to see what's going on. And they're going to be like, well, why you don't know how to do it or something like that. So never be scared to learn how to do something on your own. It's best that way. I promise you it is, because you'll be on top of it. And that's how, like with me, I know to go look at it, and I'm waiting for that time. I'll set an alarm on my phone, even if I'm not awake, set an alarm. I sit up, I already have my classes planned out already, and I go ahead and put that CRN number in, and I'm registered. I try to be ahead of it, because like Zollie said, the options are limited if you wait too late. You never want to wait last minute to do anything in life. So especially not with classes, especially if you're picky too. Camille.
Yes, when you talked about advisors, it brought up something in me because I've had a poor experience with advisors. First of all, you have to know what course you want to take for yourself. They have a course, like a piece of paper or a suggested course that you can take, but you have to know what will help you the best, whether that's trying to get out of college a semester early or just trying to be on track. You have to know what's best for you. And also, sometimes they don't want you to graduate early, or at least that's the experience that I had. She didn't want me to graduate early. She was like, what next after graduating early, which I kind of understand. However, who's paying for it? So you just have to know for yourself what your plan is, and don't depend on your advisors, because also sometimes you can't even find them. You email them, you show up to their office, they're not there. So yeah, that's just my advice.
Yes, or you'll have one for 1 year and then they leave, and then you have a whole new one. So it's like, now I got to relearn this person. And he's like, oh, but they showed me everything. See, that's why you got to know how to do it yourself. So, because you never know, they switch out like clockwork. They just disappear. I don't know where they go. Zollie.
Yeah, I just want to put an emphasis on what Genesis said, because I had a new advisor every semester, a new advisor, and it got to the point where I was asking questions and they wouldn't know the answer to the question. So with that being said, I think it's very important that you keep track on what classes you're taking and make sure that you're taking classes that will get you to graduation, because there's certain classes that you have to take that are required for your major. And when you're registering for those classes, it's like a must that you take those classes. So just keep track of your classes that you're taking and what class you need to graduate, because that's not your advisor's job to tell you you need to register for this class. It's your job to know what classes you need to graduate.
Yes, because I know ours is called a course evaluation, and we're able to access that. And my freshman advisor, she showed me how to pull it up and check, and it shows like a check mark of the classes you completed. It shows you the classes that you're going to need, and then so on, so on. And you can do like you can put it in the future to show like, okay, if I were to take this classes, this is how this is going to look. So you're able to control that to see, because like Zollie said, it's not really up to them to like give you a list every year or semester of what classes to take. You should already have that idea, because like Camille said, they're supposed to have your best interest at heart, but really they're just advisors. They don't really care that much. Sometimes you get some that care, but other times you don't. So it's like, you have to be able to advocate for yourself and be like, I know I'm trying to get out of school at this time. I want to graduate then. I'm not trying to push this over, separate these classes, take all these electives if I don't need them. You have to know what you're doing and what you're getting into before you just trust your advisor with your whole plan in school. Alexis.
I was just going to add to what you guys were saying about registering for classes. I'm not sure if other schools had this resource available, but I know at Kennesaw, we had this thing under the registration with DegreeWorks where you could go and put in the classes that you want to take for the semester, and it will register you. Like, it'll give you like maybe 4 or 5 different schedule options, and you can choose what you feel is best for you. So it was kind of like a pre-registration, and it doesn't actually register you for the classes, but when your registration time ticket does open, you can just go on and click which schedule fits you the best if you want to do it that way, or you can go ahead and see which ones are full. So you can see like, I may be not able to get into this one because it's almost full, but there is another section available that has like a similar time. So I know that was helpful for me as well.
Jason?
So in the chat, I posted each degree that you have has a document called a plan of study. And that plan of study is going to outline every class that you need to graduate. Once you have established a major, you need to keep a copy of your plan of study on you at all times. That document is going to tell you exactly which classes you need. It's going to tell you from which areas, and it's going to tell you which electives you have. The idea of just having a loose free elective is not a thing anymore. It is absolutely not a thing. So once you decide what you want to do, different schools you can declare at different times. I know UGA is different from UNG in terms of, you go to basically a general school, then you go to the school that you're going to graduate from at UGA. But that plan of study is the document that you need. That is going to be law. The other thing too is the plan of study is tied to your first semester as a college student. It can change, but like anything, basically anything related to your degree is going to be tied to your first semester as a freshman. So right now, anybody that's coming in, you're going to fall in under the fall 24 plan of study, the fall 24 academic curriculum. So you need to understand that document. And when you're ready to register, you need to make sure that those classes fit somewhere on that plan of study, because if not, you're going to be taking classes that can count against your GPA, but they do not count towards graduation. They are two completely different things.
Zollie?
And yes, I love what Jason said, because I agree 100% to keep that plan of study on you. That's how I kept track of my classes, and I think it's important for everybody to do that. So I would color coordinate what classes that I took already, what classes I would need. It's just important in college to stay organized. You have to stay organized or you will not do great.
Yes, and that's perfect what you said, because that's going to lead into talking about time management and study habits, as far as just, once again, you being responsible for what you have to do as far as your classes, and knowing how to go about this coursework, assignments, exams, and all of that coming up. You have to have self-discipline when you're in college, because like I mentioned earlier, you are responsible for yourself. So you could have a party going on tomorrow night, but then you have an exam the next morning. So it's up to you to where it's like, am I gonna go to that party, or do I need to stay home and I need to study? Or realistically, are you gonna study up until you go out, and then you're gonna, like, you have to plan stuff out before you just jump in and be like, oh, it'll be okay. I know enough. I'll take the exam and I'll be fine. I'll wing it. You don't really want to wing anything in college like that. I mean, sometimes you do get fed up to the point where it's like, I got a C, I'll take a C to get degrees. Sometimes that's going to be your mentality. But you have to be responsible and have not perfect, but try to reach for perfect time management skills and be self-disciplined, because even if you have a great support system of friends, they're not responsible for you and your work getting done. You have to hold yourself accountable and be like, look, as much as I would like to hang out, or as much as I would like to do this, or it sounds good, I know I need to get this done by this time at this due date. And some professors are not going to give you extension, because then that's where it comes in with reading your syllabus too, because sometimes they will not accept late work at all. Like, you might think, oh, if I just give them a little email or tell them this, then they'll do it. But some of them do not care. They will not accept it whatsoever. So you have to make sure you read your syllabus, because you have to know what's going on and be self-disciplined, hold yourself accountable. Alexis?
Yeah, I was just gonna say prioritizing is key. Like, you have to prioritize, like, the fun, the parties, all of those things are always going to be there. I've been in those situations before where it's like, I really, really want to go to this party, but I know I have an exam in the morning, or I know I have this 7-page essay that's due and I only have 4 pages of it done. So you really have to make sure you prioritize, and the fun in college is always going to be there. It won't kill you to just miss one party or one event. Sometimes you do have to miss out on the fun. Now, I do think it's important to enjoy yourself while you're in college, but you do need to make sure you're prioritizing as well, because at the end of the day, you're here to get a degree, and the partying is always going to be there. So just make sure you take care of your academics first, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're constantly retaking classes and having to do appeals to retake classes. And at that point, you're just wasting money, putting yourself further in debt, unless going on scholarships and stuff. But either way, it's a waste of your time, and it's just best to prioritize and make sure you get what you need to get done first.
That's true. You're gonna have fun. Like nobody's saying that you just gotta be like strictly on school, but you have to remember why you're at school. Like you're at school to get your education. You're gonna have fun. You're supposed to have fun. Like Devin mentioned something about like homecoming and all that stuff. Of course you want to experience that, but you have to prioritize, like Alexis said. If you know homecoming is this weekend, that means all week you need to lock in and get this work done so you can be free that weekend. Genesis.
Following the syllabus is so important. Like some professors, you may get a professor who won't even remind you of when something is due or when you got to submit something in. So as soon as you get your syllabus, whatever you use to like keep up with your assignments or like a calendar, go ahead and put that in so you know when those important due dates are coming in. Because I can say Clarke County kind of had us spoiled. Like they'll take it, you might can email and get your way out of it. But a professor is not going to do that. Like they do not care. You have to have your work in on time because they're going to treat you like an adult because that's what you are. So you have to really, really be on it and really, really use that syllabus.
Yes, and it's so easy to forget a simple assignment. Like you could know that you had a discussion board due all day, but the slightest thing, slightest inconvenience could happen. It could be 11:59 and you're like, I forgot. So having like those reminders, it helps because you can easily forget. It happens. You have a lot of stuff to get done. You have more than one class. Like I take 5 classes. So it's like you have all these classes that you got to keep up with, and it's your responsibility to keep up with those classes. Jason?
I'm starting to feel like the enemy being the professor in the group. Couple of things. Number one, syllabus is absolutely your friend. Syllabus is a written binding contract. So you need to make sure that you read the syllabus, and also every school has what's called a supplemental syllabus. It's basically the rules of the road. You need to make sure that you read through that supplemental syllabus because there are things that can save your life in that syllabus. Another thing, I do not accept late work. There is a penalty in life for everything being late, unless basically now, the way I have things, if you want to turn something late, you have to make an appeal to the dean of students. That is a big deal. But with that being said, like if you're in the hospital, I doubt I'm not that mean. I'm not that crazy. Like I had a student one year, literally right before she had to get her appendix pulled out, she called me from the emergency room apologizing. That's a whole different thing. But the other thing, I think the biggest thing I want to touch on is one of I teach freshmen, and so this is kind of a passion of mine. One of the biggest struggles that freshmen have is understanding that so many freshmen come to me not knowing how to study. And when they bomb their first exam, they will come crying to me saying that I studied for 12 hours. And I don't care how long you studied. You need to understand that there is a difference between quantity of study and quality of study. High school generally is not teaching you how to study college material. You need to be, right now, you need to be reading anything that you can get your hands on to start to understand the volume of reading that you're going to be doing and how to recall that information. That is the biggest stumbling block that I see freshmen have, is the inability to study, both in terms of finding time to study, balancing those parties and all those other things, but also understanding how they can retain that information they need for that first exam. That is the biggest challenge that I am seeing right now, is that high schoolers are coming to me not knowing how to study.
Devin?
I was gonna go back on the topic of duality. Pretty much duality is like learning how to pretty much have a balance in life. So, since we're being real, like it has been multiple times where I have forgotten like assignments and stuff. And I had to, that's the way I am, the best way possible. So, let's let my professor know, hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was at an event, but is there a way I can possibly turn it in? 9 times out of 10, most professors, once you have that relationship with the professors, I would say it's really, go back to your relationship. If you have a good relationship with the professor, then you might have a possibility to be able to, work out something. But if you don't, 9 times out of 10 it's not work out for you. But also going back into the part of being real, like, I have been in parties as well when I knew I had to turn in assignments and stuff on my phone. So it's just pretty much more of like learning how to stay organized, learn that you have things that you have to do. And number one, learn that like school is not free. So like you have to make sure that stuff get paid and done first.
Camille?
Yes, I had 2 things to say, but I first wanted to say to, again, draw in on the point of knowing yourself. So first of all, like to pay attention to where you like to study. I know a lot of my friends like to go to the library. If I go to the library with a group of my friends, I'm not getting anything done. I like to study in my room by myself, quiet. And then also I want to talk about the time of day that you like to study. Also know that about yourself. I know some people like to study way in the midnight hour. That's not me. That's never going to be me. If it's not done by like 11 p.m., hopefully it is. And then also if I don't know it by 11 p.m., hopefully I can learn it in my dream. I don't know, something, but also don't wait till the last minute. Like if it's due at 11:59, we shouldn't be working on it at 11. I know sometimes we do. I know we do. It happens, but don't let that be you every time.
Right.
Yeah.
Zollie.
I just wanted to say that those discussion posts, even though they might be worth 3 points, 5 points, those 3 points and those 5 points mean a lot. Like that can determine your B from your A, your C from your B. So even though some assignments aren't worth a lot and you feel like, okay, I can skip out on this one, at the end of the semester, sometimes or hopefully this don't happen to y'all, but you're gonna have wanted to done that 3-point post or that 5-point post.
And then with the syllabus, typically they always have like the assignments that you're gonna have to do at the back of it. So look for that extra credit sometimes, because sometimes they'll have it hidden in there and you'll miss out on it. So if you know that you're probably gonna miss a discussion post or something like that, take advantage of the extra credit. Don't get lazy now and be like, oh, now I got to write this essay for extra credit. Take advantage of it because you know you've been holding yourself accountable for the discussion post. So, I mean, like I said, it's going to be assignments that you miss. And then like Camille said, me personally, I just started this where I'm like she said, if I don't get it by 11 o'clock, I'm done. I'm not about to stress out. I'm not about to stay up all night because then I'm going to be too tired to even do my day tomorrow. So I'm going to just put it in God's hands. But you know, that's why you have to know yourself, like she said, in your time and in how you study and what fits best for you, the settings and all of that. Jason?
Y'all and extra credit. I'm just gonna tell you now, I don't give extra credit. You're gonna find that a lot more instructors are going away from extra credit, simply for the fact that there's a prevailing sentiment that students come in with this entitlement, like feeling they should get extra credit. So don't think that everyone's just going to give extra credit. Some people do. It depends on what they teach. Depends on the level of what they teach, but you cannot go in with the expectation of extra credit. So I think we need to make that clear. Also, another thing with time management and talking about, the 11 o'clock rule. I think that's important to a degree, understanding like, hey, if I don't get this by this time, there's no point in spending all night because you're going to lose everything else that you have. One of the things that I do, just because I enjoy being cruel sometimes, is I'll make an assignment due at 4 a.m. and I just look to see how many students are up trying to do this simple assignment at 4 a.m. when you could have easily done it at 6 in the afternoon. So just because something is due at some weird time doesn't mean that you need to wait till the last minute to do it. There is nothing wrong with turning something in a day early. If you have some time in the day and there's something else you need to, I just looked at Net's comment. I'm cruel because life is cruel. That's just the way I am as an instructor. I'm here to prepare. I'm literally here to prepare you for what happens after you cross that stage. But one of the things, with time management, understanding how you study, realizing that we're not your enemy, but we're also not your friend. We're here to teach you something and impart some knowledge to you, but also understand that this is a balance. It is a duality. And trust me, I had more than enough fun in college, but I've made some of those same mistakes too, that cost me. But again, these are the best years of your life. But I need you to understand, read that syllabus, understand that relationship with that instructor, understand that if you go to a big school, you might not have that relationship with that professor. You might have a relationship with the TA. So you need to really understand that there's kind of levels to this, but definitely if you're studying, and one thing too, if you're studying and you're finding yourself not getting it consistently, you need to make sure that your glasses are good. Like a lot of students come to me, they haven't had their eyes checked in years. If you're an incoming freshman, you need to make sure that you have the most recent trip to the optometrist, because a lot of students come to me after that first semester and realize, oh, I haven't been to the eye doctor in 4 years and my vision has changed and I can't read as well as I should. So there are a bunch of little things that are stopping students from being great. And it could be something as simple as you haven't gone to see the eye doctor.
Yeah, and also don't take advantage of or don't sleep on the office hours in the labs that you can go to. I am a senior now at Georgia State, and I went to my first office hour my spring semester of college, junior year. So and when I got there, I literally was like, why have I not been going here? It's because so don't sleep on it, take advantage of it. If you know you're not getting it in class and you don't want to talk to the professor, maybe like during class or stay after class, and they have office hours, go to those office hours. It helps. I mean, even if you're the only one in there, I think Jason just said it gets lonely. It's okay, at least you're gonna get it one-on-one time. That's fine. Alexis.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to the office hours. I remember once I was struggling with one of my Spanish classes, and I went to the office hours because I was like, look, I got to figure out what's not clicking. And I was literally the only person in there. And for the remainder of the semester, she would give me opportunities to earn bonus points just because of the fact that I came to those office hours and she seen that I was putting in that extra effort. So that kind of goes on with building a bond with your professors as well. If you create a good reputation and a good face card for yourself, they're going to recognize that. And if they see you putting in that hard work, most professors anyway, I feel like will meet you halfway. So yeah, don't sleep on those office hours either.
Yes, Zollie.
Also, don't be afraid to reach out to your classmates. Like if you're struggling, 9 times out of 10, there's other kids or people in the class that are struggling with the same thing. And I learned this the hard way because I was in the class and I was thinking, okay, it seemed like everybody else know what they're doing, but it turns out we're all in the same predicament. And so when y'all all come together and study or take tests even sometimes, it's just important to make sure that you're talking to your classmates as well because they can be a big help too.
Yes, because it's always like that awkward feeling when you get into class and you're like, okay, well, who am I gonna talk to? I'm probably just not gonna talk to anybody because I know me, like I really don't be social like that. But it takes that one little group me or group chat or that email to the link, and all of a sudden everybody's struggling, and it's just like, oh, we should have been did this, like studying for the final and stuff. So yeah, do not be scared to reach out to the person beside you and be like, do you get this? And be like, no, or like they might get it, and y'all can just work together. Genesis.
Picking back off of what y'all said, group me's and like just having group chats in your classes really help a lot. Like one person may get it out of the group and everybody else may not. So like just having that communication or where y'all can like study afterwards. I know for my university, they required the professors to give us like group projects. So that was another way of building that like communication with my classmates and kind of having somebody to talk to if I didn't understand something.
I have a love-hate relationship with group projects, but yeah, it is what it is. You'll experience that. Jason, and then we'll go to the next topic after this one.
One thing I think it's very important with the group me's, one thing that I know from my own college career and looking at the people I went to college with and looking at their success now, if you having a great friend group of people that are like-minded with you is one of the biggest determinants of success, because there are going to be times when you don't want to go to class and they're going to be dragging you to class. There are going to be times when they don't want to go to class and you got to drag them to class. Nobody makes it through this college experience by themselves. And if they tell you they made it by themselves, they're absolutely 100% lying to you. Somebody at some point helped them, went above and beyond to help them get something that they didn't get. Nobody makes it through on their own. Another thing, I use Discord in my class mainly because it's really popular, especially people that play video games and whatnot. But I will tell you, don't be afraid to step out there and be that person that sets up the group me, that sets up the Discord chat. We use D2L Brightspace, and its discussion board is terrible, like absolutely terrible. It's trash. But you need to be able to get that. Don't be afraid to be that first person. Be like, hey, I'm starting a group me for this class. Don't be afraid to be that person, because that can help somebody that's going to help you later on and down the line when you're seniors and you're struggling in that senior level class and they're getting it. And, that instructor may not be able to reach you, but that other person can. So I think it's very important that, show leadership if you have to, but also find a group of like-minded individuals.
Yes. So we are going to go to the next topic, but before, I didn't want to skip over this one because I feel like this is very important as far as talking about counseling services and acknowledging mental health. Never want to skip over that topic and just brush it off like it's not a serious thing. We are still human at the end of the day, and we're still growing and getting older and finding ourselves. And unfortunately, we go through things during school, and sometimes this is where you start school with people and then you see that they can't finish because they're going through too much or school is not for them. Maybe some point you feel like school is not for you. So if you know, like, you are one of those people who get in their head a lot and you don't really want to talk to like somebody you know, a friend, even a roommate, counseling services, mentors, advisors, if you build that relationship, even a professor, maybe, don't be scared. Like we've been preaching about relationships, do not be scared to form those relationships so you can get the help and acknowledgement that you need, or that encouragement. And we'll talk more about that like with clubs or organizations later on, but it's a big deal with mental health. So take that serious if you know you're feeling not okay with school, or you know, because you're alone at school, what we're about to talk about on campus. But a lot of things go on when you're going in college. You know, you feel a lot of emotions and lifestyle changes. So just be aware of that. Jason.
Like, I guess again, being the kind of the university employee on the call, University System of Georgia has tons and tons and tons of mental health support systems in place. Every university has licensed professional counselors. We have See Something, Say Something. So if you see something that you are concerned about, every USG institution has a method or has a manner with which you can report that. And also, as a university employee, I'm what's called a mandated reporter. If I feel that there is something going on that you might be a danger to yourself or others, I am legally bound to report that. So I can tell you right now, I've had students that were suicidal. I've had students that were cutters. I've had students with eating disorders. I've had students with social media addiction, like literal clinical social media addiction. I have seen it all. I've been through it all. I can tell you right now, if you are starting to feel outside of yourself, you need to reach out to those people. Counseling services are free and they are confidential. So you absolutely need to make sure, even if you're just feeling like, hey, I don't feel like myself, that 30-minute sit down with that counselor can be the difference between life and death. And that is me being completely honest, having been through some terrible situations. And lastly, don't be scared to go to them. Like, even if you're kind of struggling with focus and things like that, you may have an undiagnosed learning disability, like adult onset ADD is a thing. Even if you just sit down with them and you're just talking about like, hey, I'm having trouble focusing, or you're just trying to build, again, that relationship, they might be like, hey, you might need to get tested for this, or hey, this might help you. Please do not wait. If there's something going on, please do not wait to where it gets bad. Because I can tell you right now, I have, with approval, I have the authority to send campus police to your house. So I don't like to use that, but that's something that every professor, pretty much anybody with any type of responsibility at a USG institution can do if we feel like, you're in danger. So, I hate to be, the storm cloud, but I really need people to understand that this is something that can spiral out of control. And if you are living with somebody, if this is happening with your roommate, you need to buck that trend and you need to speak up, because I have seen situations go from bad to absolutely terrible because people didn't speak up. So if it's somebody reach out to somebody. But again, every USG institution has counselors that you can reach out to. And if you absolutely feel, some kind of way about it, you can report anonymously.
Mm-hmm. Devin.
I was going to speak from a resident assistant perspective. I have seen a lot of situations this year that has arisen, like where different people have, like Mr. Jason said, going through mental health issues. Mental health is also a very much real thing. I said that to say this. Advise your friends as well, because oftentimes you take on your friend's situation and make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to the friendship. Also know that, like, if you have, like, let's say you tell your friend, I'm not having the best mental health day or whatever, and your friend be like, let's go get a blunt. We're being real correct. So I'd be like, let's go get a blunt. No, you need to go sit down. You need to go talk to somebody. You need to at least regroup yourself. Revise your circle at least on a daily basis. At least, like, you try to tell them something that you are going through, and then they, refer to something that's not going to help you in the long run. So just, know yourself first.
Yes, and like Zollie mentioned, your schools offer counseling, and like she said, you're paying for it, so you might as well take advantage of it. And like Julia said, it doesn't necessarily have to be because you're going through something. It could be positive. It could just because you need somebody to talk to. Everybody's not social, so just take advantage of it. Your money's going towards it, like Zollie said, might as well. The next topic is about student life, campus life. This is going to get more into like if you're staying on campus, off campus. I think we've all had different experiences, so this will be great. So we're talking about housing. So the first one is on-campus dorms. I know for Georgia State, as a freshman, you are required to stay in well, you're not required, but you're recommended to stay in a freshman dorm, and we have 3 options. Those 3 options come with a required meal plan. Me personally, I recommend you staying on campus freshman year because you're already entering a new space. So they're more social with you there. You talk to your RAs, build a relationship with them. Devin is a RA, so I know he'll have a lot to speak about that, getting to know other people your freshman year and just experiencing that. Zollie, raise your hand.
So I went to a HBCU, and if y'all don't know, HBCU and housing, it's always crazy. So when I went in as a freshman, I didn't have housing. I was supposed to have housing, but I didn't have housing. And so I had to stay in a hotel for a week until they got my housing together. And I don't know how it is at every other HBCU, but I know at Clarke, housing is only guaranteed for freshmen and sophomores. So after that, it's kind of like you have to figure it out on your own, or they enter you into a lottery and you just have to hope and pray that you get housing. But all I know is housing is not always guaranteed at a lot of these schools. So you need to talk to your parents and have a backup plan just in case you aren't able to get housing, because it'll be bad if you get all the way to college and you don't have housing and you're like, okay, well, I can't go to school because of housing. I don't think that should let you deter you from going to school. So just make sure that you talk to your parents, especially if you're going to a school where you know housing is a big problem.
Yes, and I mean, I'm at Georgia State. It's not HBCU, but it is in the heart of Atlanta, and everybody and their mama want to go to Georgia State. So the housing, they just started the lottery system, and it's terrible as well. It's kind of like if you miss it, I'm sorry, you're gonna be on the wait list until the end of the year. So that wait list is not. I was on the wait list last year, and I got housing. I want to say probably like 2 or 3 weeks before school started. So that's another thing where you have to be responsible, but also even if you are responsible, it's just not reliable. So like Zollie said, have a backup plan for housing, especially in the Atlanta area specifically. Genesis.
Yeah, HBCU housing is the worst. Going to my freshman year, I did not have housing. They wouldn't even let me go do like online until I got housing because my major wasn't considered online major. So I went like almost a month without housing, and I'm out of state. So another thing that I do want to say is when you get into your housing, set boundaries with your roommate. I had a horrible roommate experience. So please make sure you're setting boundaries. I don't know if every school does roommate agreements, but if you do, stick to those roommate agreements and stand on what you put on that piece of paper.
Yes. Devin.
Real quick and brief, as far as like the resident assistant. I was kind of one get to know your RA. I like with him being an RA, like, I was the type of person. I'm already outgoing as it is. So it's like when I had incoming freshmen moving into my dorm, freshmen oftentimes come in their room and they try to be secluded. Me being the loud person I am, went in the middle of the night. Like it wasn't the middle of the night. It was like around like 8 p.m. No, people trying to go to bed. I went and banged on everybody's door and was like, get out of the room. Y'all haven't met each other. Meet each other. That's how you make that's how you make some good friends. And of course, they might have been mad, but I don't really care. But that's how people really met genuine people their freshman year. Also, going back into the housing agreement, understand, like Zollie said, everyone needs to raise how you're raised. Some people are genuinely nasty. And if people are genuinely nasty, make sure you tell them, okay, the first time you're like, okay, I think you need to clean the room. Is everything okay? This is how you do mental health check. Is everything okay? Is there a situation that's going on that I need to know about to make sure that, we're both in this in a good space, so both are sharing the space together. From there, if it don't work the second time, if you want to, you can talk again with the individual. From there, you take it to your RA. Again, don't go take it to your mom and daddy because your mom and dad is not there. From there, you then transfer. If the RA is not doing something, go to the hall director. It's always a chain of command with everything. So just make sure you know the chain of command. Like Genesis said, set the boundaries with your roommate, and I feel like you'll be good.
Yes, Camille.
I was just gonna say, I've had the whole HBCU housing experience. If it gets any worse than mine, I hate that for you. But I would say if you have to do community style dorms, you will be okay. You will be fine. Just put your shower shoes on, take your shower caddy, your 2 towels. You will be okay. It's not the end of the world. If I can make it through no air and community showers, then you can make it through community showers. It's gonna be okay. I promise.
Yes, everybody has their different experiences. I know freshman year, I shared a room. Luckily, it was with someone I went to high school with, but like Zollie said, everybody is raised completely different, and you will realize that when you start living with someone, and it's frustrating because it's like I've been in class all day, and then I have to come home because this is home, and it's a mess or it's just not what you're used to. It's just like I know I stayed in my room half of the time last year because I just couldn't even interact. But you gotta sacrifice because you want to have somewhere to stay, but it's also like Devin said, you gotta also be grown and know how to communicate and be like, look, this is my boundary. I cannot tolerate this. This is a mess. And then bring your RA in as well. Like, and if they don't want to do nothing, then go to the person above them because you got to set some boundaries. Y'all all paying for this space. It's not just their place. It's not just your place. Y'all are all putting money in tuition, housing, all of that is expensive. So you cannot just tolerate disrespect, dirtiness. Stand up for yourself for sure. Jason? You're muted.
I hate this computer. A couple of things from the faculty side of the house. Roommate drama is one of the biggest detriments to students. I've had instances where people's roommates get dogs and the other person's like allergic to a dog, and it just turns into mess and drama. So that's something that you need to, if you don't have a written agreement, you need to learn how to set some boundaries really, really quick with your roommate, because if your home life is suffering, your academic life will absolutely suffer. And the other thing too, HBCU housing, I put in the comments, it is a meme because I mean, even at Xavier, it was a thing. Our dorm flooded our dorm flooded my freshman year. Somebody fell out of a window and almost killed themselves because they fell out of a window. It flooded again. And then all of the plumbing backed up. But I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. Sometimes someone put in the comments, it builds character. That's why I love my HBCUs, because if you've been to an HBCU, you understand things don't work, things get lost, you got to wait in line, but all that's doing is just preparing you for life. And that's ultimately what the goal of college is. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of HBCUs, because as much as we complain about things not working, if you've been traveling this week and you heard about the CrowdStrike outage and people waiting in line or people getting stranded, HBCUs are the perfect place to learn how to deal with adversity.
Zollie?
I just want to say, when it comes to the community, if you have a community washer and dryer, be careful, guys. Be careful, because it's been times that I went in and I've seen some gruesome stuff that don't belong inside of a washer or dryer. People don't know how to wash clothes right. I suggest that you take some Lysol wipes, wipe the washer down, wipe the dryer down, because one time I literally got a bed bug because I washed my stuff in a community style washroom, and I came back and I had bed bugs on my stuff. So yeah, be careful when it comes to that.
Yes. So we can touch on also off-campus housing if anybody's experienced that, you want to give some advice and talk about your experience.
I did off-campus housing my senior year, and when it comes to off-campus housing, you have to make sure that you're up and ready, because at that point you're not on campus anymore to just oh, I can get up 20 minutes before class and get ready and go. When you're off campus, you have to get your day started a little bit before it's time for you to go to class, because you have to make sure that you have transportation to class. And that's another thing. If you don't have adequate transportation, if you have to catch an Uber, make sure you call that Uber way before your class start, because professors do not care that, oh, my Uber was late, oh, my car broke down. They don't care about that. They care about you being in their class. So if you know your car don't have no gas the night before, you better wake up early or go get you some gas the night before. If you know your car might be wishy-washy when it comes to cranking up in the morning, you need to get up earlier in the morning to make sure that your car is going to crank up in order for you to get to class.
Jason? Muted.
Hate this thing. Understand that renter's insurance is a thing, please. I had a student get their apartment broken into, got their PS5, got all this stuff stolen. And I was like, well, it's not the end of the world because you had renter's insurance. And it looked at me like, what's that? It's not expensive. But when you move into that first off campus, or actually, even when you're on campus, make sure you have renter's insurance. It's like $15 a month, because people can and do steal things, and it's nothing to steal an iPad, a MacBook. If you're an engineering student, those engineering MacBooks and laptops are really expensive. I mean, $15 a month can save you a lot of headaches. So when it's time for you to move off campus, make sure you absolutely have renter's insurance.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to what Jason said about, having renter's insurance. That is very important, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people's stuff getting broken into or something has happened and there's literally nothing to back you up. And secondly, just make sure that you do research on the off-campus housing that you're planning on going to. You want to make sure you're in a environment that's suitable, because I know a lot of times for some schools, the off-campus housing is usually dedicated. You can find some apartment complexes that are dedicated for student living, so that way you don't have those issues. Those are other college students that are living out there with you. And then I know Zollie mentioned something about the transportation. I know at some schools there are resources available for transportation. Like I know at Kennesaw, they have the Owl bus that goes to all the off-campus apartments, and they will come and pick you up. And there's like an app that you can track to make sure that you can catch the bus in time to be able to get to class, if that's available. So make sure you do your research and see if your school offers anything like that as well.
So before we go to the next topic, I know I wanted to touch on the clubs and organizations in the Greek life. Me personally, I was in a club called Soul, where it was serving others unconditional love. So I would just participate in volunteering opportunities, feeding the homeless. We would do like Bible study. We would try to spread like positive notes and stuff, give it to random people on campus, just try to make, everything positive, make people smile, make people's day. So if you have opportunities to join a club, do that, because, it's just something else to add onto your college experience, meet new people, even if it's something that you never even did before, like it sounds weird, just still try it, because you just never know. Like it might be something that could help you in the long run. And I know me personally, growing up, I've always did community service events, so I felt like that was perfect, especially to do in the Atlanta community with seeing so much homelessness and just a lot of things that I see in Athens, but not to that extent like in Atlanta. So doing something that I feel like would help, it was good for me, and I could put that on my resume as well. Was anybody else a part of any clubs or anything that they want to share?
Yes, I actually did a few clubs while I was in college, but I would say the biggest thing that I feel like I gained from that was networking. You really get to meet a lot of great people. And I feel like when you're meeting different people and you're a part of these different organizations, you open yourself to more opportunities. And I feel like we live in a world of, it's about sometimes who you know and not what you know. And you never know who you could meet that could possibly potentially help you with maybe a future job or another organization that you may want to be a part of. Sometimes building relationships with those people through organizations can help you go a long way as well.
Oh, Genesis, you can go ahead.
So what I'm a part of, I'm a part of the Epsilon Pi Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Royal Court. I'm actually the first freshman to have the title of Miss Sphinx. That position really helped me get my face, like get a good face card and network with so many people. Just being able to give back to a community, like, we're from Athens and UGA students and kind of, how much that takes on us. So to be able to give back to a college campus or in the college area was really good deed. So if you could join an organization or do something good, do it. Like, you're going to enjoy it and meet so many amazing people. Like, you never know in the long run, who you will need.
Jason.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. I think joining clubs is incredibly important because it's going to give you kind of a microcosm of life. That roommate situation is going to introduce you to the fact that not everybody's, was raised the way you were, but the positive side of that is going to be, when you meet clubs, you're going to meet really like-minded individuals that have similar interests from you and similar interests to you. Now, being Greek myself, and working at a college kind of makes you have weird feelings about Greek life. Simply because of the fact that we deal with the positives and the negatives of it. But I can say from now being an alpha for 25 years, I would not take anything back. But for anybody that's thinking, especially about Greek life, you really need to understand that it is a much different situation now than it was at any other point. There's a lot of things happening. It's not so much with NPHC Greeks, but you are seeing with Panhel Greeks, you're seeing a lot more instances of deaths during alcohol-related hazing. I can tell you now that universities are absolutely 100% zero tolerance against hazing activities. And to be honest, it's due to the lawsuits. So, I want, if that's what you're thinking, you need to kind of think long and hard about, the choices that you're making. Greek life is amazing. It is an amazing time. I can tell you all sorts of, if we're being real, ratchet stories with Lil Wayne at our alpha parties at Tulane. I can tell you all sorts of ratchet stories about that and some of the best parties, some of the most amazing experiences. But then Saturday morning, I'm up, the next morning after the craziest party, you're up doing community service. So there's something to be said about that, but joining a club, finding the right organization for you is very important because it can lead to lifelong friendships, brotherhood, sisterhood, just being able to meet people. Because I sit and I look at the Greeks that I knew when I was coming up. I mean, I don't know if y'all watch Married to Medicine, but Jarrett Manning, the dentist down in Atlanta, I just remember she was just Jarrett. So there are people that I'm sitting here, that I know I've known for 20 something years and I'm seeing them doing great things. So there's an amazing opportunity there, whether it's just it's something, if you're into something nerdy that you don't want anyone to know about, join that club. If you want to be Greek, do that thing, but just understand that you need to realize that mission number one is college.
Devin.
I was going to say from a person who is not Greek, just make sure that you know that discretion is key. Discretion is pretty much like you don't tell nobody you're doing. Just pretty much make sure like that no one knows what you want to do. Most people like discretion is key as well. They still tell everyone. But no, like with things like that specifically, you don't want to go around telling everyone what you want to be, and how you want to do it, and like when you want to do it by, because if words get out, you will probably be blacklisted. And at A&T, the blacklist culture is very popular. It is what it is. So just make sure that your information is within yourself and God and possibly your family members that you're very close with. But your friends, not so really.
Alexis.
Yeah, adding on to what Devin said, discretion is very important, but also make sure you do your research too. Make sure you know what you're joining. Make sure you know what that organization stands for, what their mission is, what are the goals of that organization. Make sure that organization represents you as a person and you are able to represent them as well. So you want to pick something that aligns with you and your interests and your values in life. And And then like a big word of advice, a lot of people think just because you join a fraternity or sorority, that's going to make you popular. And if you were lame before, you're going to be lame after, like just being honest. So if you're going to join a sorority or fraternity, just make sure you're joining it for the right reasons. And then like Devin said, please be discreet, because I cannot tell you how many people have gotten blacklisted just because they don't know how to keep their mouth closed. It's what you want to do. And it's not for everybody to know. That's what you're coming out is for. That's for you to come out. And that's your time to share with the world.
So wrapping up the student life and campus life topic, I just wanted to end that with making sure I emphasize being safe in anything that you do. We all are, well, you're going to go to whichever school you go to. As you can see, we're all in different locations. Just me speaking from my experiences in Atlanta, things are just unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. You could go anywhere, do anything. But just make sure you're being safe, and make sure you know who your friends are, and who your circle is, and make sure you're safe. Don't just be out here just doing anything. I know you want to just like YOLO, you only live once, y'all have the moments, but just be safe in anything you do, because people are unpredictable in this world and you just never know. Never know. Zollie?
And to piggyback off what you said, being in the Atlanta area, you see a lot of crazy stuff. So if you see something, say something. It doesn't matter if it's to a security guard that's on campus. If you got to dial 911, it's important that you say something, because it's a lot of crazy stuff going on, especially on college campuses. So it's very important that we stay safe.
Yes, and just remember, like, it's not just us on that campus. There are locals and everything everywhere. So you just have to be mindful of anybody. You just never know. So the next topic, this one is going to probably be the most important. This all is important, but this one is most important because it's about financial aid and scholarships. So I'm going to go through the list of the grants, scholarships, and what they are, and then we'll touch on it overall. So for financial aid or the scholarships, you have grants. You have the federal Pell Grant, which is awarded based on the financial need. You have your state grants, where the residents that are attending in-state college get. Institutional grants, where your college will provide those based on your need or your merit. And then the scholarships offer, you have your merit-based, which is academic, athletic, or your artistic achievement. Need-based is based on the student's financial need. Departmentals, particular majors get these scholarships, so it's not guaranteed to everybody. And then you have your private scholarships, where you can get them from organizations, foundations, community groups, or websites that you may find that offer scholarships. You also have opportunities to do work study, which is federally funded programs provided where they provide part-time jobs for students with financial needs. And there are also student loans available. You have your federal student loan, which are direct subsidized loans or direct unsubsidized loans. And then you have the PLUS loans, which are more so of a lower interest rate. And then the private loans, which are given by banks, private lenders, and those that have a higher interest rate. Overall, when I say this is based on financial need, the only way they are able to see what you need financially is based on your FAFSA. And this is the most important thing as a college student. Your FAFSA, which means free application for federal student aid, and it collects financial information to determine eligibility for what you can get based on like grants and scholarships and all of that. This is something that you apply for annually, and you should always get it done before your school starts, like the first day of class. Basically, you need to get it done ahead of time. And just talking about financial aid, I want to make sure that I emphasize that you need to take your time understanding what financial aid is and how to accept those awards that are given to you, how to go about managing those before you talk about loans. I know how we said that you don't want to rely on your parents for like your academic stuff, but when it comes to financial and your parents are helping you with this, you need to make sure you're talking to them about this. Don't just go accepting loans, taking loans and stuff, because a loan is something that you have to pay back. It ain't something that, oh yeah, they gave me the money for it, I'm going to school for free. No, you're going to have to pay that money back when you get done. So make sure you are consulting with your parents or whoever you're helping you pay for school with that. And also make sure you understand that you need to maintain that aid. So if you're getting aid based on your academic or your athlete, you need to maintain that. You can't slack off and drop that GPA below, what is it, 3.0, I think, or whatever the y'all can help me when I open it up or whatever. But basically, if you drop your GPA below that, they will snatch your whole Pell, all of that away, and then you'll be struggling to get that back. And I've known people personally who have lost it, and they dropped out of school because they was just like, I can't, it's not even moving. Like, you can't get it up. So make sure you maintain that, because once you lose it, it might just be gone, and you're going to be trying even harder to not only pass your classes, but get your GPA high enough to afford classes. Jason.
The FAFSA is a big thing. Now there's also been the FAFSA got messed up this year. And so there's been a big giant delay with it. I don't necessarily know if they've gotten all the kinks worked out, because I know in the spring it was utter chaos. But the FAFSA is, if you are claimed on your parents' income taxes, you need to sit down with them and work out the FAFSA. So if you're an incoming freshman, it's pretty much too late now because school starts in 2 weeks. But if you're like a college senior, the FAFSA, you need to get started on that FAFSA as soon as your parents file their taxes for next fall or next summer, depending on when you want to start. One of the things with student loans, don't take out more than you need, because you are going to have to pay those back. And one thing I want to touch on is the difference between subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans. What a subsidized loan is on a federal student loan is the government will pay the interest on the loan. An unsubsidized loan, you pay the interest on that loan. So depending on how much it costs, that can be real money. So it's stuff that you need to make sure that you are reading everything and you ask a ton of questions before you accept that award, because you want to try and push as many grants as scholarships, because you don't have to pay those back. But federal student loans, you will have to pay those back. There's a lot of court cases about forgiveness, but if you absolutely have to and you are looking, there are programs that will forgive your loans or will pay your loans back. So you need to kind of take a worldview if you are taking student loans, because for some people that's the only way it's going to work. And if you're genuine about it and you take what you need, there's no shame in that, because college is expensive. But if you're looking to shed those loans, you might want to look at careers. You might want to look at organizations. You know, a lot of organizations, if you're willing to go do whatever you do in the middle of absolute nowhere for 4 years, they'll pay off your loans. So you need to kind of think about that. But the key is absolutely having that FAFSA and making sure that FAFSA is completed as early as possible and as correctly as possible.
Yes, Zollie.
So coming from somebody that I didn't get a lot of scholarships before I went to school. I reached out to somebody at my school and she sent me a scholarship opportunity. So with that being said, reach out to your school, reach out to financial aid advisors, counselors. Alumni give money for students that are in need. So they do have money. The school has money sometimes for you. It's all about you having to advocate for yourself and ask around. I would say it's best if you try to get scholarships before you start taking out loans, because like they've been saying, you have to pay loans back. Scholarship money is your money. You don't have to pay that back. So it's very important that you try to find scholarships.
Yes, and that going off what Zollie said, recently last year I went through Georgia State to see what scholarships they were offering, and they have a huge portal where you can do a general application and you fill out like the essays, the questions that they ask you and all that stuff, and they send you through a portal where they will match you with scholarships they feel that best fit you. And I think I did the application. I got one of my professors to do like a letter of recommendation, someone from my job, and I was able to get a scholarship after like 2 weeks of just being in that portal, and it was $1,000. So just doing that, that's one step closer to getting your tuition paid for free. So don't be scared or don't be lazy to put in that work for those scholarships, because like Zollie said, during high school, I slacked. I'm sorry. Them essays was not it for me. I did not feel like doing it. I just was over it. So I didn't walk into college with a whole bunch of scholarships or, full ride. I didn't get that. So I had to actually put the work in during college to get those scholarships and make sure like I had my hope and stuff like that. Genesis?
Just to piggyback off a little bit of what both of y'all said. So we call ours like Scholarship Universe, and not a lot of students know about it or even apply for it. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to get those scholarships because it's just basically money just sitting there and nobody applies for them. Also, I think it's called like SAP or something, but if you don't meet that, you can lose it. And it's different from different degrees. Some can be like a 3 or a 2 or whatever it is. If you don't maintain that GPA, you can risk losing all of your funding. And first you get a warning, and after that warning, if you don't fix it, then you lose it completely. And if you're failing a class, I would say take it again if you think you can pass it again, because it will help you with your financial aid as well.
And SAP, satisfactory academic progress, is what Alexis just put in the chat. Devin?
I like talking about scholarships because, I know how to work my way around financial aid now in my freshman year. So I have like 3 little quick points, whatever, to make sure you all please take advantage of, as well as my other panelists on here now. So you have a website called United College Negro Fund, which is aimed for open scholarships or long term to HBCU. Have different type of majors. They typically try to aim for like more of smaller institutions, but every now and then you may find like a large institution over there as well. You also have a thing called Third and Marshall College Fund, TMCF. TMCF offers scholarship opportunities as well as professional development opportunities. Third and Marshall flew me out to Washington, D.C. last week to go to a conference, the Capital One conference, and they paid for everything. I'd have to pay for nothing. He gave me a $150 gift card when I first got there. I was able to spend over that whole week. Also, Third and Marshall gave me a $15,000 scholarship last year. So it's like, with me going to school out of state, all I had to pay was $500. And the school, I gave them school with money, they made it fast with that smile on my face. And as well as another scholarship opportunity is know that like don't be afraid to like apply to $500 and $200 scholarships, because that money do add up as well. And it just happen if they may see you with being the only one like person applying for it, they may give you a little extra. So yeah.
Yes, and all money, take it. Don't be picky. Oh, it's just 500. It'll help. It's gonna do something. So make sure. And like Genesis was saying, like it's unfortunate that they don't advertise scholarships like they should. It's like they don't want to give you the money. So you really have to like go searching for it and ask and really like hold people like, oh, look, don't y'all have money to give? Because like I know I always say it all the time. If I talk to you on the basis, I'm like, I know Georgia State got money. I know they do. I see it. Like I'm paying all this money. I know they got some money to give me back. So I, use my resources and I go through stuff just to see like, and Camille said with upperclassmen, like I noticed that too. They have like certain ones that'll give you, it's just categories, and like upperclassmen they have more offers than other ones, and then it's like depending on your major, whatever you're majoring in, you might get a better chance at getting this scholarship versus another person in this major. So you just have to really read and take your time to maneuver through that website or whatever your school offers. Jason?
One thing also that we're finding that a lot of students aren't taking advantage of, the PSAT is also known as the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. So if you are a sophomore in high school, you need to be taking the PSAT because that puts you in the pool for the National Merit and National Achievement Scholarships, and that's a free ride. So a lot of people are not doing that anymore. So you need to make sure that if you have the opportunity to take the PSAT, take the PSAT, because that puts you in contention for national merit and national achievement.
Zollie?
So I just want to say that there's a lot of scholarships out there for minority students. It doesn't matter if you don't go to an HBCU or if you go to an HBCU, there's a lot of scholarships for us. Also, take advantage of work study. I know I did, and it was a great decision. It's I think on FAFSA, when you fill it out, there's a box that you can check that automatically make you put you in the portal for a work study. With work study, even though I don't know how long it's been like this, but I know I could only work 15 hours a week. And yeah, that's not a lot. But that 15 hours a week when you're in college and the money that you make, that gets you food and groceries. So that was enough for me to get by. And also they give you a scholarship each semester for doing work study. So not only do you get paid, you get a scholarship for doing work study as well.
Yes. And like Camille said, there are a lot of random scholarships. So don't just be looking for the big names. Like she said, me and left-handed, and I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm left-handed. But you know, they have a lot of scholarships for just anything. You just never know. You just gotta look for it. Alexis.
Sometimes, depending on where you work, your job may offer scholarships, or they may also do tuition reimbursement. Because I know during my undergrad years, I worked at Quick Trip, and Quick Trip would give me tuition reimbursement every semester. Depending on the number of hours that I work, it'll qualify you for a certain amount if you're part-time or full-time, whatever the case may be. So make sure if you do have a job that's not a work study, if it's off campus or whatever, make sure you do your research and check to see if there's some type of scholarship or tuition reimbursement you could receive through your job as well.
Yes, because I literally just did mine with Kroger. They do tuition reimbursement. And that's just, it's true. If you know you're working or you're doing service in the community or whatever, ask those people, because sometimes they be waiting, like they want to help you out and use your resources. You know, you meet these people, create relationships with them, and the first thing they want to do is support you, you know, help you through school if you need help doing anything. I know sometimes it's hard for us to like ask people for things because I know I struggle with that, but sometimes you just gotta just like, hey, I'm just trying to get through school, just put it out there. And some people will be more than willing to help you get to where you're trying to go in your future. So if you right, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you know you're working wherever, just it won't hurt to ask. You know, worst they could say is no, we don't offer that, and you just move on to the next. It's okay. Anybody else have anything to touch on before we move to the next topic? No? Okay, so the next one, we're going to talk about internships. This is very important because internships will provide you with experience and allow you to be in real world situations. You know, it's getting you closer to whatever career you want to take up when you get out of college. So to have this internship, an internship as on your resume, it'll help you. Me personally, I am in an internship now, and like I mentioned, I am a senior in college. So yes, it's recommended to get an internship as early as you can, but if you don't and you start late as a senior, that's perfectly fine, because experience is experience. It's on your resume regardless. And you know, sometimes they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. So when it comes to getting an internship, they have like fairs and networking events that you can attend to get into that program. But also, me personally, I found out about the internship that I'm at now from work, from somebody that I'm close to at work. So like I said, don't be scared to ask people, advocate for yourself, show like, hey, I'm in school, I'm trying to get experience in this. So, you know, just be open to talking to anybody about how you can get more experience to get closer to your career. Zollie?
So I had to do an internship in order to graduate. Some classes, depending on your major, you have to do an internship to graduate. Being a criminal justice major, finding an internship is kind of hard. So I just want to put that out there for anybody that's looking to be a criminal justice major. It's kind of hard. So you have to do a lot of research and a lot of digging. And I also want to add that don't be afraid to do an unpaid internship. Every internship is not paid. And I did an unpaid internship. I actually was the first HBCU student to do the internship at the Atlanta Municipal Court. And being that I was the first, I made a lot of great connections with people. And the fact that it was unpaid, it makes them see that, oh, she really wants to be here because we're not paying her. So obviously she wants to be here. Just when you're at your internship, make those connections, talk to people, get numbers, because you never know who might write their letter of recommendation for you, or sometimes they might give you a job after you leave the internship. So just make sure that you take your internship seriously, be on time, be prepared, be organized, and whatever it is that they want you to do, make sure that you're doing it.
Yes. Jason?
One thing as an instructor, as you move up higher as you start to move kind of past sophomore to junior level, your instructors are gonna have a lot of contacts with businesses, and you're gonna know about organizations that reach out to colleges looking for interns, and as also just individuals that your professors know in their field that may have internship opportunities. So having that relationship, learning how to network, that's really important, because a lot of these internships are not really advertised. Like, the really good ones aren't ever really advertised. They're just done, by word of mouth. And so having that relationship with your instructor, having that relationship within the department that you're in, when they know that, hey, this is a quality student, they have a great future ahead of them, they represent the university well, that's going to be really key, because the last thing you want to do is embarrass the university. If you're the first ever student or you're their internship student, they will cut a college off. So it's a great opportunity to find those things that are not necessarily out there in the world. But as an instructor, I have companies contact me all the time, like, hey, we're in your area, we know you teach this, do you know students that would be willing to do this? Just like now with UNG, with us being our main campus being in Dahlonega, we have a lot of internships available at wineries and breweries. They're looking for microbiologists to do breweries and make wine. So that's become a big, huge thing. So especially if your school is known for something, there's going to be opportunities to do that. But the thing is, you have to have that great reputation on campus, because professors are not going to just take their reputation on people that they know aren't going to be able to, like Zollie said, show up, be ready to go, be willing to do what they want you to do, because they're not going to give you the glamorous jobs. And sometimes it's just to see if you're willing to do the grunt work, because they want to make sure that you're here for the right reason, not just to glorify your resume. They want to make sure that you're going to work.
Right. Camille?
I was going to add that they also have something called fellowships. So I'm doing a fellowship with Teach for America. It's really similar to internships. I think the difference is like professional development versus maybe personal development. I'm not sure. I'll have to fact check that. But those are also a great opportunity to try out different things and also network.
And then, since we're talking about networking as well, also take advantage of like the services that your school offers. I know at my school they have where you can get your professional headshots taken. And even if you don't have the proper attire to wear, they'll give you like a little shirt to wear, a jacket to wear, just so you can have that for your LinkedIn accounts. They give you like interviewing tips, resume tips. They have so many workshops and stuff. It's just, you just really have to, I don't want to say search for it, but you just have to be willing to go and just look around and see when they're offering it, when they're having those fairs. Don't be afraid. I know my first college fair I went to, it was required for my class. But after I went to that one and seen how it was like, okay, it's just me, getting out of my comfort zone, walking up to people, basically selling myself, trying to show them, who I am. Once I went to that first one, I was like, I can keep doing this, because those people really be looking for you to work for them. They need people to work for them. So if you go and you have your resume in your hand and you're advocating for yourself, that's a job opportunity right there. So never be afraid to go to the college fair, career fairs, the panels they offer. They have alumni come talk to you. They may be recruiting. Never know. Zollie.
I wanted to add that if you are taking an internship class, the professor, since it's a class, they're not really on you about, oh, let me make sure that you're going to work this week. So you have to take it upon yourself to make sure that you're still completing the work for that class. And also to touch on what Genesis just said about going to work, to career fairs and stuff. Those career fairs are important. And I recommend that when you do go, have like at least 6 to 7 copies of your resume, because you need to get your resume out. You need to get your name out there, your face out there, because companies are always hiring. And also there's a lot of people want minorities now. So make sure that you have a good face card for yourself.
Yes, that is so true. I literally brought a whole folder of resumes just full, and I'm just passing them out. Even if I wasn't even like interested in a job, I was still just passing them out. Like, okay, here you go. You can read this. You got that on there. I'm open to do this. Just make sure you. And that's another thing. If you're not sure on, like, I know they taught us in high school about how to do your resume, but of course it's going to change over time because you're going to be adding more stuff to it. But that's why you should go to those workshops or talk to a friend. They may know how to like design it. Make sure it looks decent. You have what you have done, your experiences, your skills on there. Your resume is very important. That doesn't get talked about really enough. You should always have your resume up to date. LinkedIn is a very good site that you can have on the computer, or you can have an app on your phone. All those networking sites and everything, they really do help. You'll find that out, like the higher you get in college, as an upperclassman and all of that. Jason?
I think it's important too when you go to these career fairs for networking, you need to be dressed appropriately, because you never ever know who somebody is that goes to these career fairs. When I went to graduate school at Oklahoma State, and a bunch of us went to a career fair, and the CIA was giving out like interviews on the spot. So you never ever know, and that's a completely different ball game. They're looking at you, they're sizing you up. You never ever know who you're talking to. And I saw someone be open to all experiences and opportunities. I found out when one of the career fairs, the United States Public Health Service, they have what's called the Commission Corps. They look like they're in Navy uniforms, but if you're like a scientist, an engineer, a nurse, they're everywhere. Nobody knows about them, but you do that, they can pay off your student loans. And there are a lot of job fairs, and people just look at them crazy because they say, hey, you might be helping. If you're an engineer, you might be helping doing drainage in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska, but they need people to do this. And so you really need to be open to opportunities. You need to be dressed professionally. Keep your LinkedIn clean. Keep your social media clean. Please, 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 please. Because when these companies have companies that when they run you through those portals, it's called digital dirt. They're gonna do a digital dirt search. They're gonna put in your name, your birth date, and they're gonna find out everything that you have done and that things that you have been tagged in. So you need to make sure that all of that is clean, because these companies do not want you out here sullying their good name, especially as companies have become much more image conscious about a lot of things. So when you go to that job fair, you never know how deep that rabbit hole can go and how quickly. So you need to be ready to go, because a lot of times I can tell you from experience, when they go to these job fairs, they know the students they want to, and you'll find resumes in the trash at the end of the job fair. But the students they want, that's going to be based off of that initial interaction. And if they feel good about you, I've been to job fairs in grad school and gotten calls the next day. So you need to be ready to go with those job fairs, because you never know when the next opportunity is coming.
And that is so true with the social media thing. Like I mentioned, opening this panel up, we're going to be very real and honest. I know we like to, put what we do when we go out and stuff on social media, but you're going to realize when you're starting trying to get into your career, you have to be a little bit more professional. You cannot show everything. And if you do, you need to have close friends or something, because putting that on your public story is not a good look, not for yourself, not for the company that you're representing, and you will get dropped. So make sure you're being smart about what you post, who you follow, because, and that's another thing about the friends and stuff like that, everybody does not have great intentions. So you never know who's watching you and who might send this to who. So just be smart about what you're putting out for the world to see. With these glitches and stuff, you don't know what might pop up and be shown. So just be smart about that. Jason?
One thing real quick too, your email address, first name dot last name, especially as you get to be an upperclassman and you're going to not be on that school email forever. First name, last name, reputable domain. Don't have crazy. I don't know how many, when I worked in industry, how many people had borderline obscene email addresses that they would put on resumes. So when it's time for you to transition, first name, last name, reputable domain. Like that's it. Nothing fancy, nothing cool, none of that. Because when it comes down to it, if it's you and this other candidate for that last position, and they're really digging down and everything is the same, if their email address is professional and yours is not, the other person is going to get the job. It is just that simple. So make sure that, especially as you're getting ready to get out of college, that your personal email is something that you can share with anybody and they not turn and look at you like you're crazy.
Right, that's true. So moving on to the next topic, it's basically talking about after college. I know we have a graduate and an alumni on here. Alumna. I is with the guys, right? Okay, so basically, I'm gonna have Zollie and Alexis talk more so on this topic since, you know, they're experiencing the after college effect. So we're gonna talk about like personal growth. They're gonna give like a little advice on maintaining that healthy work-life balance and managing the career transition from college to now in their careers, or even if they didn't go into the career they intended on, how did that change? So y'all can really just take over this whole topic and I'm just sit here and listen.
I would say for me, my biggest thing was personal growth. I feel like I really became my best self. And at the time when I was doing undergrad, you know, of course you're learning life lessons and you're learning things about yourself, but I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on me until I was faced with those real life decisions and situations after graduating. But I will say, when you get to your senior year, don't slack off and think, okay, I'm about to be done. This is my time to chill. Like, that's really when all of my hard work really kicked in, like getting those internships, like we talked about earlier. So you have that experience and you have the things that you need for your resume. And then not only that, now you're at the stage of, okay, I'm about to graduate. What job do I want to do? How am I going to apply for that job? Where do I want to work? Where am I going to live? Like, it's just so many decisions to make. I was luckily blessed with the opportunity prior to graduating. And so as soon as I graduated from undergrad, I was able to start teaching. But unfortunately, everybody does not always get those opportunities. So I really want to put emphasis on not waiting to the last minute. Like, if you know you have your next step in mind, whether it be pursuing a master's degree or if you want to try to get into a specific field, a specific job, go ahead and start applying yourself, putting yourself out there to those employers and really building your resume, making sure that when you leave college, you have that strong resume to present yourself to people so that way you can get those opportunities. But I will say, it's not easy though. I feel like it's just as much hard work as when you're in college. So it doesn't get easier, unfortunately, but I feel like it's about the work that you put in and just having a plan for yourself. Don't graduate and just be like, okay, now what? I don't know what to do. I haven't done any research. I haven't figured out what's my next step. Like, just take some time to really decide what it is that you want for yourself and what you want your next step to be. Because like for me, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I also knew that I wanted to get another degree. And so that's how I ended up working on my master's next, because even being in my career, I'm like, well, I'm not making the money that I want to make, or I can't do certain things because I don't have certain certifications. So I have to continue to go back to school to be able to get to where I really want to be.
I totally agree with everything Alexis said. Just because you know you're about to graduate, that doesn't mean slack off. If anything, that means that you need to work harder, because now you have to figure out, okay, what am I about to do in the real world now? And everybody thinks just because you got a degree that jobs are just supposed to be easy for you to get. No, it's like you need more than just a bachelor's degree with a lot of jobs that you have. So with me, I know that I do want to go back and get my master's, but as right now, I'm just going to teach and get my money so I can be able to afford to pay for my master's, because that's another thing. Once you go get your master's, you don't get Pell Grant anymore. A lot of scholarships that you got when you were in undergrad, you don't get that anymore because those scholarships are meant just for undergraduates. So it's like you have to figure out the balance of okay, do I want to work or do I want to automatically go back to school? And if you know that you couldn't afford undergraduate, then I don't think that you should stretch yourself out as immediately after on going back to school. Give yourself a little time, but always keep your eye on the main goal, which is going back to school so you can better yourself and do what you actually and truly want to do.
I really like what Zollie said about, taking time for yourself, but making sure you keep focused on your goal. Because I know me personally, I did take my first year off to just focus on teaching and get in the swing of things and getting to know my career. And then once my second year of teaching came, I'm like, okay, now it's time for me to go ahead and start working on this master's. Because I'm personally a person, if I take too long of a break in between things, I feel like I'm not going to get it done. I feel like I'm going to lose that motivation to get it done. So that was a really good point, Zollie. Make sure you take time for yourself, allow yourself to adjust, but make sure you're keeping that goal in mind and you don't just, get lazy, because it's easy for us to do that. And accomplishing big goals like graduating from college, like getting a bachelor's degree, that's a big deal, especially coming from a family or someone like me who has a family where a lot of people don't have bachelor's degrees. A lot of people haven't graduated from college. So that's a big accomplishment. So if you have higher goals set for yourself, just make sure you're setting yourself up for success while you're doing it.
And I also want to add, don't let people try to stir you on what they think that you should do, because a lot of times they aren't even in the same predicament as you. They don't have a degree. So it's like, take advice from people that you see yourself in their shoes. Don't take advice from people who you wouldn't want to live like. And also, I just want to add that since I was young, I'm still young, but I was 20 when I graduated. So going into job interviews, they were looking at me a little off. I literally had someone tell me, let's address the elephant in the room, which was my age. And I feel like don't let other people discourage you when it comes to getting a job. If they don't want to accept you for who you are, oh well, that's their miss out. You go to the next person that do want you there. So I feel like don't just settle with a job just because you feel like you have to settle for a job. There's plenty of jobs out there that want you for who you are. Don't settle for a job just because you see the pay. And of course, coming from a broke college student who's not making any money for real, going to, a real job where you're making money, be careful, because all places aren't good places that you should work at.
Yes, that's true. And I also just always, you want to have options. You never want to just be desperate looking and begging for somebody to pick you. You want to have those options. And the only way to get those options is if you start early, like Alexis said. Don't wait to the last minute, like the day after you graduate, to start job looking. Like, you knew you was going to graduate this date, so you should already be trying to plan out applying for these jobs, putting your name out there. So when the time comes, you're picking what best benefits you, where you see yourself, where you'll be happy, where you won't be dreading your job. They have great benefits, all of those good things. You just always want to have options, because that's something that I've been telling myself with my senior year and graduation approaching. I know I want to start early to where I won't be just stuck looking for a job. I'll be able to pick, what job will fit me.
And the last thing I wanted to add really quickly is just because you've graduated, don't think that doesn't mean you're supposed to have it all together. You're supposed to know everything. You're supposed to have everything figured out. Like, even with me being halfway done with my master's, I find times where I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I need to ask somebody for help. And the people that I'm literally asking for help are those people that I built relationships with while I was in college, like old professors, counselors and advisors, anybody that I build relationships with. Again, that's why it's very important to build those relationships during undergrad, because you may not know who you need or who you're going to have to depend on after finishing. So don't be scared to ask for help. Just because you finish school doesn't mean, you're just on your own. You're supposed to have it all together. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for job recommendations. It's okay to help people. If you know someone who's working in a field that you want to be in, reach out to them, because you never know who knows who, and someone could put in a word for you, and that could be an opportunity for you that you probably didn't have before. So that was my biggest thing when I graduated. I used to be so hard on myself because I'm like, I'm supposed to have this together. But in reality, Now you're transferring from being a college student to becoming an adult. And then it's like, not only are you dealing with what's my next job going to be, or if I'm going to go back to school, if you decide to live on your own, now you're dealing with paying bills on your own and adjusting to being a full adult. So it's just so many things that we face with in life. So just don't be scared to ask for help, even if you feel like I shouldn't be asking for help for this. I believe in there's never a dumb question, especially if it's about advancing yourself as a person or getting you to that place that you want to be in life. Just open up your mouth and ask for help. It's no reason to be embarrassed at all.
And the last thing I want to say is your journey is not somebody else's journey and vice versa. Just because you've seen people graduate from college and they're able to quickly move out and get a job, that might not be the same for you. So it's important that you have that talk with your parent and be like, okay, I'm coming home after I graduate. You need to, get back in with, okay, now that I'm an adult, what is it that I need to do in order to, live under your roof now? Are there bills that I need to pay? Is there anything that you want me to do around the house? So that transition from leaving out of college, living by yourself, to having to come back home, it's not always an easy transition. So it's important to have those uncomfortable conversations with your parents or whoever you're living with. Because like I said, I know me, I know I wasn't able to stay in Atlanta after I graduated. Atlanta is too expensive. And I feel like don't try to live above your means. Like living above your means, you will stress yourself out 20 times more than you have to trying to do that.
Yes, that is so true. And I feel like that topic right there was much needed for all of us, because we're still in college and we're approaching the end. Some of us are still going through, and then we have people watching who are entering. So this is just very important to know that, you're always going to still have to do the work, even after college and after that. It never really gets easier. But you just always have to be willing to just put in that work to just remain successful. The last topic, it really is bouncing off of that. It's just more so of more like realizations that you're going to have to face when you're going through college. So some of them that I put is like Alexis said, like you're on your own path. You're going to enter college. Well, you're going to graduate. I tell my younger sister, little cousins, and all of this all the time. As soon as you graduate high school, that is when everybody goes on their own paths at their own speed. Y'all are no longer walking across that stage together, having those same classes together, going through this together, experiencing that together. After high school, everybody is free game for anybody. Everybody is doing their own thing. They experience life different. So, and this is a perfect example with Zollie. We all graduated the same year, but Zollie graduated college before we did. But the same thing is that we cannot look at it and compare ourselves to Zollie and be like, oh, well, dang, she graduated in 3 years. I need to be doing that too. No. Of course, you can look up to her and be inspired by her to want to work harder, but do not compare yourself to other people that you graduated high school with, because everybody is on their own lane at their own speed. Like I mentioned before, people take different courses. Some people take a semester off. Some people start a semester late. You just never know. So just always just stay in your own lane, focus on yourself, what you need to get done. And after that, it'll all come to you. Yes, Devin, tunnel vision. Just keep tunnel vision, stay on your track, and make sure you just keeping up with yourself. Don't try to compare yourself to others, because you'll drive yourself crazy. Like you'll never get anything done or accomplish anything or be satisfied, because you're always going to be comparing yourself to somebody else. Another one is just you also won't be available all the time. This is more so for like if you're going like out of state, or if you're going out of the city that you're from. Your friends at home, especially the ones who don't go to school, they're not going to get everything that like you have going on when you're at school. So sometimes they might be thinking like you're still available to do this, or you can talk on the phone 25/8, or you can do all of this. But going through college, like I said, you're going to, yes, and family too, you're going to experience different transitions of life. You're going to find yourself. You're going to realize the stuff that you was doing before, it gets on your nerves now. The people you were hanging out with before, you can't stand them now. It's just real. Like things are just going to change to where you're just not going to be available. And sometimes you're going to lose friends, lose relationships, drop family sometimes too, because people don't understand. But that just comes with growing. So don't be hard on yourself or think something's necessarily wrong with you. It's just life. You know, we all grow. We can't be stuck in one spot with the same people. If they do come up with you, that's great. But if not, you know, sometimes you just have to accept it, because college, you meet new people. It took me a long time to open up to meet people at school because I just was so closed off. I wasn't really social. But as I started meeting people and realizing, like, okay, I see what they're saying. Like, when you get married and stuff, your wedding may be full of people that you met in college versus, like, you know, the high school or the elementary friends and stuff like that. You're meeting new people. So be open to that, and take it from me, who waited till like junior year to start being open. Start as soon as you can, because those relationships make or break your college experience. Jason, you had something to say? Your mic's off.
Hate this computer. Something that's very real as you transition out of college is what we call imposter syndrome. And that's a real thing, to where you feel like you don't belong where you are. And that happens at various levels throughout your professional career, but it's a real thing. And when you feel that, you need to understand that you are where you should be. Even I think also if you transition from high school to college, there is also some level of imposter syndrome when you find yourself, you know, like a junior, and you're like, wow, I'm a junior in college, but you don't feel like it. So understand that's a real thing, and it happens at different points in your career, your academic career, where you feel like, I don't belong here. And especially, you know, being people of color, there are certain instances where we are the only one that looks like us in the room. So you know, there is an unfortunate sentiment that, oh, you're here because of a quota. Oh, you're here because, you know, no one else was available. You're here because of this. You're here because of that. No, you're there because you should be there. So that's one thing I want you to understand, because as we push ourselves higher and higher, we become fewer and fewer. And so as someone that I used to work in corporate America. And I think that's when I first met Jen, when I was, you know, all neck deep in corporate America and all the, you know, the lifestyle and all of that. I want you all to understand that living your life and running your race is very important. And it's something that you're going to have to contend with, because like I said, I'm looking at classmates that I have a classmate that is the VP for Herman Health, which is the largest health provider in Houston. Makes tons and tons of money, but she doesn't have kids. She's not married. You know, great person, but that's the way that she chose to live. So don't be afraid to live your life as you see fit, because that's your life. Don't feel bad because someone else is doing something with their life. There's always trade-offs. I knew when I left corporate America for education, I cut my salary in a third. So I had the great 6-figure salary. I went to making less than, I think I was making like 30 something thousand. I made less when I left corporate America than I did at my first job in corporate America. And so you have to ask yourself, why am I doing that? And for those of you that know me, I have a 9-year-old. So realizing for me that me being there to raise my son is more important than, oh, well, you know, I'm traveling all around the world and doing all this other stuff. So live your life the way that you feel comfortable doing it, because if you don't, you will never be comfortable with who you are. You will have a job that you hate. You will have a life that you hate because you are trying to please the wrong people. As long as you are doing what you feel is right and what lets you sleep at night, that is all you need. Money is not everything that it is cracked up to be. Ask any rapper you know. So I think that's my biggest thing to everybody in here, is that no matter where you are in life, make sure you're happy with where you are and that you're running your race. I keep seeing tunnel vision. That's true. Stay in your lane. You are where you are supposed to be. Don't go off trying to do all these things because somebody else is doing it, because it's not your path. Stay on your path and be true to yourself.
Yes. Genesis.
Oh, I don't know how you come after that, but That was good. But I experienced that, like, with me going off so far, I'm keeping it real. All of my mom and my sister supported my decision. But I knew I had it to get away. Like, I knew what I had to do for myself. So never second guess yourself. Understand your why and know that not everybody's going to support you, but you're going to meet so many people who are going to support you and love you and know why you made the decision for yourself. A lot of people thought after my first semester I was going to come back home. So, like, you have to tune all of that out and do what's best for you. Run your own race. Don't listen to family. Don't listen to friends, especially if they not in that predicament that you're in. I'm not listening to somebody who ain't never went off to college or it went out far. I'm just being honest because you don't know. So know yourself to know that you can do this and never question yourself. And if you do have to come back home, at least you went out and you tried. So never listen to what others got to say.
And the last thing that I had to say, it was more so just talking about you just investing in yourself. It's really what everybody else is saying. Just setting your own goals, staying at your own pace. The future, that's your future. That's what you see yourself doing. So like Genesis, Zollie, everybody on here that is saying like, at the end of the day, you know what you want to do, and God knows what He has in plan for you. So at the end of the day, do what's best for you, and whatever comes good that comes with it, accept it. Whatever bad, reject that and just keep pushing forward. But it's always important to just always invest in yourself and believe in yourself. If nobody else does, have your own back, because sometimes it's going to be those moments where you sit in that dorm room or you sitting somewhere by yourself, especially like when you're going to college, you're in a dorm, you're away from home, from family. It's just you on you time. And you're just sitting there really reflecting and thinking about where you want to be, because it's going to hit you at some point. It doesn't matter if it's freshman year or senior year. It's going to hit you, and you're going to have to realize like, okay, this is something that I'm deciding I have to do. I have to encourage myself sometimes when I don't want to get up in the morning. I have to push myself when I don't want to do this work. You have to have your own back if nobody else is going to have it, because like Zollie was saying, as far as the family and the friends, you're going to people are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to support you, girl. I'm going to call you every day when you go to school, or I'm going to come see you. We're going to spend the weekend together. We're going to do this. And some people don't hold up to their word. So you're going to either pout about it, complain about it, and get depressed about it, or you're just going to keep elevating, keep going up, and just, yes, be your own biggest cheerleader. Like, you can't worry about or hold people to their words as far as that promising you to do stuff, because at the end of the day, you got you. And that's really all that matters. Devin?
But I was gonna say like two things to me that stood out within this whole segment rather. I just this whole segment was pretty much more I took it was like setting boundaries. Know how to set your boundaries. Something I ain't gonna tell you, I'm not good at it yet. If somebody call right now and be like, hey Devin, come pick me up, I'm on the way. I'm not good at that quite yet. But setting boundaries is an ongoing cycle. As well as like parts of future wise and stuff. We have a saying in my college business, which is to divorce the dream, marry the vision, and date the process. So you have to divorce the dream of your life, of your ideal life that you have. Marry the vision, marry like your long-term goal. But you have to date the process. Anytime when dating, you understand things are adaptable. So you have to be adaptable in that process. So it's pretty much like divorce the dream, marry the vision, and date the process.
I like that. Yeah. Alexis?
I just kind of wanted to add on to what Genesis was saying about tuning the outside people out, especially people who haven't been in similar situations as you. Just to share a little personal experience, like I can't count how many times I've had people, even people that I thought were my friends, everyone had comments about, well, why would you want to be a teacher? They don't make enough money, and who want to deal with bad kids all day, and da-da-da-da. Like, people will get in your ear and try to make you feel like you're doing the worst thing in the world, when in reality, they're probably just jealous, or they wish they could do the things that you're doing. So you really have to tune people out, because if I let people get in my ear about what I love to do, I probably wouldn't be doing it anymore. And like Jason said, would you rather make all this lump sum of money, but you got to roll out of the bed every day, and when your alarm go off, you're irritated? Or would you rather have a job that you really like? Because like he said, money really isn't everything. And so that's exactly how I feel about teaching. Like, could we use a higher salary? Definitely. Teachers should be making a lot more money. But at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's about the fact that I went to college, I earned this degree, I'm working in the field of my degree, and I'm doing something that I love. So just make sure that you're focusing on your happiness. And like Genesis said, please tune out those outside people, because they can ruin your whole experience for you and make you feel like you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, when in reality, that may be your calling from God. So don't let people deter you from doing what you want to do.
Again, I love what Alexis said, because I'm in the same situation, but of course I was a criminal justice major. So me graduating with a criminal justice degree and then being a teacher, people was looking like, girl, why you do that? Why you didn't go work in a courthouse? And it's like, I interned at a courthouse. And that's another thing. Internships can teach you what you don't want to do. And I feel like me interning at the courthouse, it taught me that I didn't want to work at a courthouse. Like, the courthouse wasn't the area that I wanted to be in, but I knew I wanted to work with kids, and I had a strong passion to work with kids. So it's like we've been saying, do what you want to do, bump everybody else and their opinions. It's your life, not theirs. So you just got to do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Jason?
I think it's important to realize the older you get that sorry, my wife just stormed in. The older that you get, you'll realize that when you work, your job description will be written faster than your obituary. Just think about that. If you worked at some place for 30, 40 years and you die, that HR executive presses a couple clicks and bam, your job is reposted. So just remember that when it comes to how you see life and your life vision, you need to understand that your job description will be written faster than your obituary. And also, nobody puts their resume on their tombstone. So think about what's really important for you. I hear all these people talking about they left and they went to teaching, and I did the same thing. And understand that at some point you realize that your goals may not have aligned with your mission. And once you find your mission, you realize that, yes, we all know teachers' pay is terrible. Sometimes you got some bad kids, because in college, some of them make it to college too. But if you're living your mission, everything is so much easier to do on a daily basis. No matter what you want to do in life, if you're living your mission, do it. Because I know way too many people that just thought, hey, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. Because Xavier, if you want to be a Black physician, that's where you want to go. You want to go to Xavier. But I know too many doctors that's all they thought in life. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. Now they're a doctor. They hate life. I know people. One of my best friends is an ophthalmologist. He hates two things in this world: people and eyeballs. And the thing that he can't stand is that he is 300 grand in debt and he can't change jobs. So make sure that you're living your goal and your mission. Try to get them together as closely as possible, because you might have that realization like I did, like, hey, all this may be great, but it's not worth my health. It's not worth my family life. It's not worth all of this, to make sure that this is in alignment with what I should be doing on this planet. Because we only get one trip. That's all you get. One trip. Make the most of it.
Well, I feel like that was amazing. We touched on all the topics that I had planned to talk about. Thanks everybody who joined in and was just listening. I want to thank all of y'all on the panel, because this was just amazing. Like, I was just sitting here just like, oh, yeah, I ate with this. This is great. Y'all literally gave the best advice, experiences. You shared, being honest, genuine, true, real. That's everything that I could possibly ask for. I know if I was coming into college and I was watching this, I would just be like, I'm set, I'm ready. So I thank y'all for just being willing to be on this with me. I do plan to continue to keep this up. So I will be reaching out to you guys, because I really believe in all of y'all being successful. And I keep up with y'all, even though we might not talk personally. I keep up with y'all through social media and just see how well y'all are doing and how successful y'all are being. And I wish y'all the best in everything that y'all are doing. Anybody else watching, if you weren't able to join, if you weren't able to ask questions here to get them answered, it's perfectly fine. We have a recording that's recording now. So if you want to DM us on Instagram or just reach out to me and I can refer you to them, whatever you want to do, ask questions. We are here to answer. We went through this and we're more than willing to share our experiences with you guys, give you guys advice, answer questions that you might be lost on. But thank you, Julius, to putting this Zoom together, creating the flyer, and my mother who was monitoring the comments, and Xavier too, because he made another flyer as well. But that's everything. So I wish y'all the best. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Don't forget to hit start recording.
Oh yeah. Julius cheated.